Well, we are counting down to a new health care reform deadline. We are now told that March 18th is the magic day. President Obama pushing the House to pass his health care overhaul in the next couple of weeks. But our next guest says there is one key thing missing, and it may surprise you what it is. Democratic Congressman Anthony Weiner is my guest. He's from the great state of New York. Congressman, thanks so much for being here.
Another health care deadline.
Yeah, I know. I thought this was going to get done in August.
Yeah,
now here we are in February.
You and me both.
March. Okay. You want him to include the public option. That's crazy talk, isn't it? Aren't we way past that now? I mean, the other Democrats are going to look at you like, what are you complicating matters for?
Well, the House passed it. The president said he supports it.
But it's not in his revised plan.
Tom Harkin said there are 55 senators for it. The only question is who it is that we're sublimating this idea to. I mean, what votes have we gotten when we took out the public option? Look, the question, it's interesting. When you were at the White House Forum on Health Care, every single member talked about choice, competition, and lower cost. According to the CBO, public option saves about $110 billion. It provides more choice and definitely prevents competition. Even the opponents say it provides too much competition, yet it's not in there. I'd like it to be. Look, I don't believe in letting the perfect be the enemy of the good here. And, you know, this health care idea debuted years, months and months ago. But I do think now that we're in the final stretch, if you're going to take something out, it should be a compromise that gets you somewhere.
But
this is a setback.
You did, as you point out, the House passed a public option. It was sort of a watered-down version from the one you wanted and others wanted.
Correct.
But the Senate didn't, and the reason they didn't is because they didn't have the votes for it. I mean, that's why it didn't wind up.
Well, hold on a second. In fairness, if you look at what's going on in the Senate now, that was when we were worshiping the altar of 60 votes. Reconciliation is majority rule. On a majority rule, I think we have it in the Senate. All I'm saying, and I had an op-ed in today's Politico, is let's put this to the vote. You know, so many Americans are animated around this issue. You and I have talked about it. I think it's about time we find out what happened. It's kind of like who shot JR. I mean, we find out at the end of these spy stories, well, who did the crime, who eliminated the public option, and can someone point to a single vote we got by doing it?
It was the sister, wasn't it?
I actually don't even remember. You and I are both dating each other. We should probably say who shot Mr. Burns.
We were very young. We can barely remember this. It's all a blur. But back to my original question, I think people listening to this are probably saying, what are you talking about? They're barely, Nancy Pelosi's trying to get votes together in the House just to get it through as is. There are questions in the Senate about whether they can get this through with 51 votes, whether they have 51 votes.
No, we were able to get it.
I know, but if
we passed it in the House because the public option was in. You forget, there were many people who said we want additional choice competition.
But the political climate now has changed. As you know, people are talking about Virginia and Massachusetts and New Jersey.
Wait, hold on a second. The public option is something that does everything. Let's keep an eye on the substance here. The politics take care of itself. CBO says it saves us $110 billion. We know it provides an additional choice. We know it's popular. In the Washington Post poll, when you describe it the way it should be, which is a program like Medicare for people who are trying to get new insurance, it's about 70% popularity. So only question is, the Senate say they don't have the votes. That's what I read today. The president said it at the meeting yesterday. Well, I don't know. Maybe we should let the Senate decide that. Tom Harkin said that there are 55 votes in the Senate. We only need 51. Let's put it to a vote. Before we jettison this good idea, let's find out why.
You know, the argument against, among the others, against the public option by its critics is they don't think it actually will increase competition. They think actually it's going to be sort of tipping the scales because the government will be behind this one insurer, if you will, the public insurance option, and then private insurance companies can't compete, which will basically lead to more and more people being forced onto the public option.
I tell you who's going to make that decision. The people who are getting to choose, consumers, are going to make that decision. They may be right. Maybe health insurance companies can't compete. They can't bring down their costs. They can't provide the quality that a government program could. But isn't that what choice is about? It's not for you and me to decide. Let consumers decide. And let's make it very clear. This is only for the people who don't have insurance. So that's a relatively small number of people who are going to even have the eligibility to go into the public option.
Yeah, but they're saying that more and more private companies will basically shut down their programs. People will be forced on the public option when they would have been
there are a lot of people that get the public option right now. They're called United States House of Representatives members and senators who are Medicare. That's a public option right now that they get. All I'm saying is let this small number of Americans who are going to be getting this subsidy choose a lower cost option. If they're too dumb to figure out that they don't want the public option, I don't think that's the place. I believe we should give consumers that choice. Now, the people who are against it say, don't give consumers that choice. They might choose wrong. I trust them.
You do?
I do. I trust consumers.
That's a sweet note to end on.
You bet.
Let me ask you one question before I do let you go. You say in your op-ed, I may be tilting at windmills. Are you being too quixotic? I mean, is this just all a hypothetical that is never going to go through?
The public option has been left for dead maybe a half dozen times in this process, and every time the American people who look at it say, you know what, we want that choice, and it keeps coming back. And the reason is that, you know, outside the Beltway, people are not in love with the health insurance industry. They're not trying to protect it so much. I want competition for health insurance companies. They don't. That's why we disagree. And, you know, tilting windmills, I might not look like much, but I can handle myself. Maybe I can win this fight.
You know, Nancy Pelosi gave herself an A for effort when it came to, you know, running the House, being the Speaker of the House. I have a feeling you'd give yourself an A for effort as well on this.
Well, if effort was how I'd be measured, I want to get the results, though. But thanks for having me back.
Thanks for coming back. It's always a pleasure. Congressman Anthony Weiner of New York.